everyone, this is the InStyle Knitting Studio. Today, we will knit a cap that looks like a teddy bear with a scarf. I knitted this cap for my son, aged from 7 to 10 years. The child's head circumference is 47.5, but since I have a very warm fleece lining, I knitted the main cap in grey a little larger, not for 47.5, but for a circumference of 49 centimeters. The cap is crocheted. That is, the base of the cap is worked from the top down. Then the lining is sewn separately. All these elements are embroidered. The ears, muzzle and nose are sewn on separately. Everything is embroidered like a patch. These ties are made in the form of a braid. All of this is then sewn on, and the lining is inserted. I want to note that I attached the lining a little early. I had to sew on all these elements in such a way as to hide the ends. That is, everything should have been embroidered and sewn first, and then the lining should be attached at the end. So I advise you to first knit all these elements separately, attach them, embroider them on the main cap, and only after that attach the lining. Regarding the scarf, these circles are knitted separately. One larger, two smaller, and two even smaller. That is in two sets, in two copies, and then they are simply sewn onto the scarf. Well, friends, let's start knitting. For our work we will need yarn. I have grey yarn, Pekhorka Merino. It contains 50% wool and 50% acrylic. In 100 grams, there are 200 meters. I use 70 grams for the cap and 80 grams of this yarn for the scarf. I also have about 30 grams each of blue and white yarn, Gazelle baby wool. This contains 40% merino wool, 20% cashmere, and 40% polyacrylic. In 50 grams, there are 200 meters. That is, it is 2 times thinner than the grey one. A little bit of black yarn to embroider the eyebrows and scars. Then, hooks 2.5 and 3.5. A set of needles, 2 eyes, and 2 half beads in my case. Instead of half beads, one can make 2 eyes from black yarn. Next, markers. A blunt-ended sewing needle, scissors, a row counter is not mandatory, a notepad and pen for calculations, a measuring tape, and a little bit of synthetic padding to fill the face. First, we measure the circumference of the head, adding 1 or 2 centimeters for the lining. In my case, the circumference of the head is 47.5. I will add 1.5 centimeters, and I will measure to 49 centimeters. I will immediately write down the age. My son will be about 1 year and 7, 1 year and 10. We are knitting a hat for winter, and we also need to know how deep the hat should be. For this, we take an existing hat that fits well and measure the depth. That is, the distance from the top to the bottom. In my case, I measured. It turned out to be 18 centimeters. Here we also need to consider that there will be a border. After that, we will make the following calculations. We take the circumference of the head, divide by 3.14, and that gives us the diameter of the circle to be knitted with increases. According to my calculations, it's 49 centimeters divided by 3.14. Which equals 15.6 centimeters. Next, we take the circumference of the head, divide by 3, and add 1 or 2 centimeters depending on the depth of the hat. This will give us the depth of the hat from the top to the ears. In my case, 49 centimeters divided by 3 plus 2 centimeters. This results in 18.3 centimeters. This is my depth. Initially, I measured the old hat, and it came out to 18, roughly the same. That is, one can skip taking a personal hat measurement and just calculate using the formula. This will result in approximately the needed depth for the hat. So we calculated the diameter of the circle that we need to knit with increases, and we also found out what depth of the hat is necessary. Now let's start knitting. We take a hook. I have 3.5 and a grey thread. We will knit from the top of the head down. First, we need to make a magic ring. And knit 9 single crochets into it. After that, we will be crocheting with double crochets. We finished. We can tighten the ring. For those who do not know how to make a magic ring, I have a tutorial on my channel. Please take a look. We made a magic ring. We knitted 9 single crochets. Next, we connect our row into a ring with a slip stitch. We tighten the yarn so that the hole here is minimal. In principle, this can also be done later to tighten the yarn. Let's move on to the next row. We make 2 chain stitches for lifting. We do not include these in the count of stitches. Next, we knit as follows. In each stitch of the previous row, we make an increase. That is, in each stitch of the previous row, we crochet 2 double crochets. In the very first stitch, which is right under our chain stitches, we crochet the first double crochet. And here we crocheted the second. We made an increase. Next, in each subsequent stitch, we crochet 2 double crochets. After that, we connect the row. I insert the hook into the second stitch. Many insert the hook into the first stitch. It consists of chain stitches. But I think it's better to insert the hook into the second stitch. We pull up the yarn and make a slip stitch. We have connected the row. Next, we move on to the third row. 2 chain stitches for lifting. In the third row, we will make an increase. Next, knit 1 double crochet. Then again, an increase, a double crochet. That is, we will alternate the increase with 1 double crochet. Now I will make an increase right here. By the way, in the second row we should get 18 double crochets. Now we are knitting the third row. I have made an increase. In the next stitch, I will knit a regular double crochet. Then in the next one, I will knit 2 double crochets. In the next one, 1. We will alternate this until the end of the row. Here is my end of the row. At the end, I will knit 1 double crochet. I have not an increase since the increase was at the beginning. After this, I will connect again. I insert the hook into the stitch of the second double crochet. and I make a slip stitch. In the third row, we should have 27 double crochets. Next we move on to the fourth row. 2 chain stitches for lifting. Here we knit in the same principle, make an increase. But after the increase, we knit 2 regular double crochets, not 1, but 2. So, I will do this right in this stitch under the double crochet from the chain stitches. I make an increase here. That is, I knit 2 double crochets. Next, I knit 1 double crochet. In the next stitch again 1 double crochet. Then again, an increase. One double crochet. And again 1 double crochet. That is, we will alternate our increases. And 2 double crochet stitches. In the end, we should have 36 stitches in this row. Here at the end, we have an increase. And then 2 regular stitches. And we had an increase at the beginning, so everything is correct. In the end, there are 36 stitches. We insert the hook here into this loop. We grab the yarn and make a slip stitch. We have connected the third row. I am knitting this way. That is, I am constantly knitting in one direction, and my turning chains will be visible. That is, my transition will be slightly noticeable. To hide this, you can knit by turning your work. That is, I knitted this row from right to left. Here, I closed my row, making 2 chain stitches for the turn. I turn the work. And now I knit in this direction. Then, again reaching the end of the row. You can turn the knitting again and continue. That is turning our work. Do it this way. The seam of this transition point will not be visible, but the fabric itself will be textured. That is, we will see different sides of our stitches. I do not really like this, to be honest. I will knit in such a way that this seam does not bother me. So I will knit as I am now. You choose for yourself, by the way. I have a lesson on this topic, that is, on circular knitting. I will leave a link below the video. You can check out the different options for how the fabric looks when knitted in various ways. And I repeat, my lift stitches are not included in the total number of stitches. So, our 5th row, we make 2 chain stitches. Immediately here, we add a stitch. After this, we will knit 3 regular stitches. The next stitch again, an increase, that is, 2 stitches, 1 from the previous row. Then again 3 regular stitches. So, we will alternate an increase and 3 stitches. Until the end of the row, we connect our 5th row. We have here 45 stitches. Look, our circle is starting to bend, but don't be scared, it's nothing serious. We have knitted 5 rows. We are now on the 6th. By the same principle, 2 chain stitches. An increase right here, under our chain stitches. Next we knit 4 regular stitches. That is, between the increases this time we will have 4 stitches. It turns out that with each row we increase the number of stitches between our increases. And we knit until the diameter of our circle is equal to, in my calculations, 15 and 6 centimeters. Now, an increase. That is 2 stitches, 1 from the previous row. Next, again 4 regular stitches with a yarn over. That's how we will alternate until the end of the row. So we finish the 6th row and make a connecting stitch. In the 6th row, we should have 54 stitches. The principle here is that in each new row we get 9 stitches more than in the previous one. Since initially we knitted 9 stitches without a yarn over in a ring. If we had knitted 10, then each row would have had 10 stitches more. That is, each row adds 9 stitches. That's it, we have finished the 6th row. Next, we knit the 7th. 2 chain stitches for lifting, an increase. And 5 regular double crochets. Then again, an increase. And again, 5 double crochets. Another increase, another 5 double crochets. That is, we alternate and knit until the end of the row. We finish the 7th row. Let's move on to the 8th. In the 7th row, we have 63 double crochets. 8th row, 2 chain stitches for lifting. Next, we make an increase. Then we knit 6 double crochets. Regular double crochets, then again an increase. And we repeat. 6 double crochets, an increase. 6 double crochets, an increase. We reach the end of the 8th row. So, we close the 8th row. And now we can try it on. Look at the diameter of our knitted circle. I have 13 and 5. And according to my calculations, we counted the diameter of the circle here as 15 and 5. I have 13 and 5 here. I will need to knit one more row approximately. But how will I do it? I will split my last row with increases into 2 rows. That is in the next row, which is the 9th row. I will now make not 9 increases, but let's say 5 increases, and in the next, the 10th row, I will make the remaining 4 increases. To sum it up, having knitted 2 rows, I made 9 increases. This was to ensure that the transition here to a straight fabric was smoother and more gradual. I think you understand. It is important to try it on a little beforehand. If we determine that we are knitting the last row, then in the last row, we should not make all 9 increases, or however many increases you make in each row. The same number as we initially knitted in the single crochet stitches. I have 9. So, in the last row, we do not make 9 increases, but half as many. It can be a bit more than half. In my case, I will make not 9 increases, but 5. Then in the next row, which was supposed to be without increases, I will add my last 4 remaining increases there. Well, I think you got it. That is, we split our increases from the last row into 2 rows for a smoother transition. So now, I will knit the 9th row. Making 2 chain stitches for height, I need to evenly add 5 stitches in this 9th row. In the 8th row, I have 72 stitches. I will divide 72 by 5. Since I need to make 5 increases accordingly, I get around 14 and a half. I will make increases every 14 stitches. That is, I will make an increase here, then knit 14 regular stitches, make another increase, then knit 15 stitches, increase. "14 stitches, increase." I got 14 and a half, so I will alternate knitting 14 stitches, then 15, 14, 15 between my increases. And count so that my total number of increases equals 5. I don't know. You can increase as you see fit. But do it this way. That's it. In this row, the 9th row, I will add 5 stitches. And I will have not 72 stitches, but 77 stitches. Now I am knitting 14 stitches. That's it. We will meet at the end of the row. That's it. I am finishing the 9th row. I have 77 stitches. I counted and made, respectively, 5 increases now. Moving on to the 10th row. We make 2 chain stitches for height. In the 10th row, we will add 4 stitches and make 4 increases. I currently have 77 stitches. Accordingly, I should end up with 81. Again, I have 77 columns. I am dividing by 4 since there are 4 increases. It comes out to 1925. I will make the increases after every 19th column. Well, maybe I'll do it once after the 20th column. In the end, I will make sure to have 4 increases and the number of columns must equal 81. That's it. I am knitting now. I am doing an increase and will knit 19 columns. Then I will check. You make your increases and we will meet after that. That's it. I have knitted the 10th row and made 4 increases. We make a slip stitch. And in the end, I have 81 columns. Now we will measure once again. So that my diameter is 15 out of 6. Well, or at least something approximate to that. Well, it seems to come out that way, but let's not forget that we knitted 1 additional row. That's it. Now we knit straight without any increases. By the way, you can see our connection point. Next, we knit straight around with chain stitches. I will do that. And we will knit until the depth of the cap from the top to the bottom of our ears. All of this height of the cap, according to my calculations, should be 1830 centimeters. This means I will knit straight until the height of the cap is 18 3 centimeters. I am moving on to the next row. I make 2 chain stitches for lifting. Next, I immediately start knitting right here. Under these lifting stitches, since my lifting stitches are not included in the total number of columns, this means I insert the hook here. I knit my first double crochet, then I knit all like this. I am knitting around with regular double crochets. I should have 18 columns in each row, just like I have at the moment. That is, so there are no increases. If it's hard for anyone, you can count sometimes. That is, recount. So our hat goes straight evenly. And there are no more increases. It turns out I will get there. I will knit with normal double crochets to the end of the row. I will make a slip stitch. Then 2 chain stitches to transition to the next row. Next, I will again knit double crochets. Again, a slip stitch. Again, 2 chain stitches. So, we knit until we reach the desired depth of the hat. That's it, girls. Let's knit. We'll meet later. That's it. I have finished. I have achieved the depth of the hat. Well, this is about how it turned out. 18 3, I knitted 11 rows. From this point, I already knitted straight 11 rows. So, from the 11th row to the 21st row, in each row, I had 18 double crochet. I made a chain stitch here and cut the yarn. I tightened it. All done. The base of the hat is ready. The marker can be removed. Now let's start knitting the ears. Ears meaning those that cover the real ears of the child. So here we will knit the ears. To determine where to start knitting the ears, we fold the hat in half so that the seam is in the middle. and turn the hat over. Now we need to retreat 1 or 1.5 centimeters from each edge, depending on the size of the hat. I will retreat 1.5 centimeters and immediately mark my first stitch with a marker. Next, we will start knitting. Here is one of our ears. We count from this first stitch towards the nape of the neck. In the direction of the seam, we count 13, 15, or 17 stitches. I will skip 17 stitches. This is my first stitch where the marker is. Here is my 17th stitch. I will also mark it with a marker. Here I will knit the ear, decreasing stitches. On the opposite side, we will do the same. This is our first stitch, and towards the seam that is at the back, we count 17 stitches. Here is my stitch. I will also mark it with a marker for convenience. This is how it turned out. That is, we will have ears here. This is the back of the hat. An ear will form on the side here. When looking from the front, the ear should extend forward by about 1.5 centimeters, that is right here. This is to ensure it sits well on the head. We will knit the ear by decreasing stitches at the beginning and the end of each row. We will knit in turn rows. That is, in each row, we will have 2 decreases at the beginning and the end of the row. Let's try knitting one ear as an example. I will knit the right ear. Here is my seam. I will start my knitting from this marker. That is, I insert the hook into this stitch where my marker is. I take it out already and grab my thread. I'm pulling in the first double crochet. I make 2 chain stitches for height. This will be my first double crochet. Next, I need to make 17 double crochets. This is my first double crochet. I begin to crochet. For the second, I insert the hook into the next stitch, and I crochet the second double crochet. That is, we will crochet the first row without decreases. We should have 17 double crochets along with the chain stitches. Thus, the chain stitches will be my first double crochet. Let's finish to the end. Here is my last double crochet. I place it in the stitch marked with a marker. I will remove the marker. We don't need it. That's it. The first row is done. Now let's move on to the second row. We make 2 chain stitches for height, and we turn the work. In this row, we need to make 2 decreases. Here I have crocheted 2 chain stitches for height. This is my first double crochet. I make the decrease as follows. At the beginning of the row, I crochet the second and third double crochets together. That is 2 double crochets with 1 top. By the way, I have a lesson on how to crochet 2 double crochets together with 1 top. This way, we can decrease stitches. I will also leave a link below the video. Now let's repeat how we will decrease the next 2 double crochets. That is, the second and third double crochets. We make a yarn over, insert the hook into the second double crochet, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn again, and crochet 2 stitches on the hook. We have 2 loops left on the hook. Again, we make a yarn over. Insert the hook into the next stitch of the previous row. We pull up the working yarn. We rework through 2 loops on the hook. We now have 3 loops on the hook. Grabbing the working yarn, we immediately work through all 3 loops together. Thus, we have turned 2 loops from the previous row into 1. We decreased. Next, We continue to knit regular double crochets until the end of the row. At the end of the row, there is not the last stitch, but the penultimate one in the front. That is, we will work the 2 penultimate stitches together. After that, we will work the last stitch. Why do I not touch the edge stitches? To ensure that my edge is even and beautiful. We will work here with double crochets. At the end of the row, I have 3 loops left. I do a yarn over again. Insert the hook, grab and pull up the yarn and work through 2 loops on the hook. That is, it's like we are not finishing the stitch. We do a yarn over again, insert the hook into the next stitch of the previous row. We pull up the working yarn. Work through 2 loops on the hook. We have formed 3 loops on the hook and 2 unfinished double crochets. We grab the working yarn and work through all 3 loops together immediately. This way, we have again made a decrease and will work the last stitch. However, I will not work the last stitch between the stitches, that is, not between the last and the penultimate stitch of the previous row, but I will insert the hook directly into the stitch itself. I think this will look neater, and I work a double crochet. In this row we should get 15 double crochets. We move on to the next row. We make 2 chain stitches to rise. We turn the work. In this row, we will also decrease 2 loops at the beginning and end of the row. Here's our first stitch. Next, we make a decrease. We insert the hook into the second stitch of the previous row. We yarn over and pull 2 loops onto the hook. We again insert the hook into the next stitch. We pull the yarn and yarn over and pull 2 loops onto the hook. We have formed 3 loops on the hook. We grab the working yarn and pull them together. We will also make decreases consistently. Next, we knit using regular double crochets. That is, we have made 2 double crochets. Thus, I will count this decrease as 1 double crochet. Since we here formed 1 loop, 1, 2, this is my 3rd double crochet. We continue to the end. Here is the end of the row. We have 3 loops left here. We yarn over and make 2 double crochets together as one, and the last double crochet we make directly into the stitch of the previous row. That's it. We ended up making 2 decreases. In this row we should have 13 double crochets. This is already our 3rd row. Thus, we will knit by the same principle until we decrease the loops. Eventually, we will have 5 double crochets. I will finish for those who might have a different number of double crochets initially. That is, we can make the loop a bit smaller or a bit wider. This is our 7th row. Here, we have 5 double crochets. We have knitted to the point where I mentioned at the beginning, until we formed 5 double crochets. That is, 5 loops. Here we move to the next row. This is the 8th row. Next, as we will knit not 2 double crochets together, but 3 double crochets together. How do we do this? We yarn over and insert the hook into the next loop. That is, not into the one that is under the chain stitches as usual. We have been making, but into the next one, because the chain stitches are our first double crochet. We insert the hook into the next stitch, catch and pull up the yarn. We finalize 2 loops on the hook. Next, we do another yarn over. We insert the hook into the next stitch of the previous row, pull up the working yarn, and finalize 2 loops on the hooks. We do another yarn over. We insert the hook into the next stitch of the previous row, pull up the working yarn, and finalize 2 loops on the hooks. We formed 4 loops. In one motion, we finalize all 4 loops. That's it. We have made 3 stitches with 1 peak. Next, We crochet a stitch with a yarn over into the stitch of the previous row. As a result, we formed 3 loops. There were 5, now there are 3. We make 1 chain stitch, pull up the yarn, and cut it. In other words, we ended up with 3 loops with 3 stitches. In the last row we should have 3 stitches. That's it. Our ear is ready. This is how it looks. Now I will fold it in a way that shows how the hat will sit on the head. This is our back part. Here is our seam. This is how the ear goes. In front it looks like this. That is, it goes in a little bit here, forward. That's it. I think the ear is clear. We knit the second ear in the same way. That's it. The ears are ready. This is how the hat looks from the front. The ears peek out a little here. This is how the hat looks in winter. I want to make a fleece lining. I won't show how to make it here. I have a separate masterclass. Check below the video, there will be a link. We sew the lining and meet in the next part. It will come out in about a week. Bye bye.